Puff would talk in front of all of them because he showboat. He know he ain't gonna use Craig no more. But Craig needed the money.
Yeah, definitely. We got a new album we're working on him to drop in January. Besides that, we about to just drop our R&B stuff.
The Puff Daddy album.
A gun in my lap. But if it comes to getting ugly where somebody's gonna be trying to me, I'm gonna have to do something first or do something to prevent that from happening.
One thing everyone seems to know about hip-hop is that it reeks of conflicts, often leading to tragic outcomes. Unfortunately, some of these conflicts have even resulted in deaths, making it a well-known but dark aspect of the culture. But this isn't a new phenomenon. We've seen it happen before with icons like Tupac, and now it looks like there's a fresh case stirring things up again, this time involving Diddy. What's got everyone talking is how this latest development might be shedding light on a lot of hidden truths, including the tragic end of Craig Mack.
Man, Craig Mack went to his grave mad at Bad Boy.
For those who might not remember, Craig Mack's rise to fame kicked off with his 1994 hit Flava in Ya Ear.
Time for new flavor in your ear. I'm kicking new flavor in your ear.
Which really put him on the map as Bad Boy Records' first breakout star. However, a recent investigative piece from Rolling Stone has uncovered some pretty shocking details, revealing that Craig Mack wasn't exactly happy during his time at Bad Boy.
Craig Mack manager, right? Puff told Craig Mack if he didn't change management, he wasn't f***ing with him no more.
In fact, it turns out he was reportedly in talks with Suge Knight about joining Death Row Records due to a fallout with his protege, none other than Puffy himself.
I didn't hear anything about that, but I knew that Craig Mack was going to sign to Death Row. He was going to be their first artist on Death Row East.
It seems like this tension might have been the beginning of the end for Craig Mack, as he supposedly rubbed Diddy the wrong way. One person who didn't hold back about this whole situation is Gene Deal. In an interview, Gene straight up revealed that Sean Combs, better known as Puff, was on the verge of a major falling out with Craig Mack, all because of some management drama. The popular rumor is that this was the main reason things went south between Craig and Diddy.
Craig Mack manager, right? Puff told Craig Mack if he didn't change management, he wasn't f***ing with him no more.
Supposedly, not only did Diddy shortchange him when it came to payments, but he also made some pretty serious threats against Craig. Diddy has always been known for demanding loyalty from those around him, and there are rumors that he's not one to let disloyalty slide. In fact, the word on the street is that Diddy would go to extreme lengths, even to the point of taking someone out, if they don't stay in line with his agenda. Now, speculation is swirling that Craig Mack's outspoken attitude about his rights may have been a factor in his tragic fate. This new information has cast a dark cloud over Diddy's ongoing case, with people starting to piece things together and revisiting the names of other artists like Shine, The Lox, and Mace, all of whom had their own complicated histories with Diddy. As more dots get connected with his case, this story is only going to get more intriguing, and it seems like we're just about to reveal some truths about this. Back in the day, it really looked like Craig Mack was on his way to becoming the next big name in the rap world. With his debut, it felt like he was unstoppable, collecting award after award and selling records like crazy. But those glory days didn't last nearly as long as anyone expected. Just as quickly as Craig Mack entered the scene, he made a sharp exit, though he didn't leave without some drama along the way. In fact, his brief time in the industry brought him dangerously close to the edge. He was pushed so far that he almost considered committing
A gun in my lap. But if it comes to getting ugly where somebody's gonna be trying to me, I'm gonna have to do something first or do something to prevent that from happening.
Craig Mack's journey through the music industry was a wild ride, with extreme highs and lows that came crashing down in just a few short years. Well, there's one person at the center of it all, and you probably guessed it already: Diddy. Diddy was like a protege to Craig Mack. He built his career, but he was also the one who destroyed it, just like he destroyed many others.
You need more proof? Biggie ain't here, so Big can't give you no receipts. He dead. Craig Mack can't give you receipts. He dead. What are you talking about? Who else? Black Rob can't give you receipts. He dead.
Aside from the charges held against him, he had a horrible personality, and it is beginning to look like everyone seems to be remembering how he did Craig dirty, even to the point of death. Aside from the betrayal, Diddy left Craig feeling so wrong that at one point he was ready to unalive him. It wasn't just a matter of hindering his career. Diddy took things to another level by cheating him out of money. Time and time again, Craig's patience was tested. And one of the breaking points came when Diddy asked him to record at the studio, only to refuse to pay him what they had agreed upon.
Because he showboat. He know he ain't gonna use Craig no more. But Craig needed the money. He wasn't even using Craig to write.
Despite setting a fair price for his work and both of them coming to an agreement, Diddy scammed Craig, offering him only a third of what was owed. Craig, being kind-hearted and maybe a bit too trusting, initially agreed to the reduced amount. But eventually, he caught on to what was really happening and decided he wouldn't work for Diddy anymore. Now, Diddy has always had a reputation for being a bit of a bully, acting like people owe him even when he refuses to pay them what they're worth. So when Craig Mack stood up for himself, Diddy didn't take it lightly. Instead, he doubled down, even going so far as to gang up on Craig. It's no secret that Diddy has a certain fascination with the gangsta lifestyle, surrounding himself with thugs and playing into that whole mafia persona. So when Craig revealed that Diddy tried to force him to work for free, it wasn't exactly surprising. Diddy kept hounding Craig for so long that even someone as laid back and peaceful as Craig was eventually pushed to his breaking point. The constant harassment and threats got so bad that Craig reached a moment where he picked up a gun and seriously considered doing something he'd never imagined, offing Diddy. For Craig, it became a matter of survival. If he didn't take a stand, Diddy was going to ruin his life completely. But fortunately, things never went that far. So what ultimately became of Craig Mack, our uniquely talented rapper with the iconic style? Well, unlike some other artists tied to Bad Boy who ended up fading into oblivion, or worse, locked up like G-Dep, or dead from a health crisis like Black Rob, Craig took a different route. He didn't land in the Bad Boy basement of forgotten acts. Instead, he found his way out of the industry and into something entirely different: religion. Before he took this path, Craig Mack tried to file for bankruptcy as a way to escape his contract, but he quickly ran into a wall because of the strict bankruptcy laws in place at that time. It wasn't as easy as he had hoped. The legal system had all these regulations that made it tough for artists like him to break free from their contracts, no matter how dire their situation might be. He started to explore a new opportunity by chatting with Suge Knight about the possibility of signing with the East Coast division of Death Row Records. He got flown out to Los Angeles, where he was offered a hefty $200,000 advance and a whopping $1.25 million recording budget.
Flew him out to LA, he offered him an advance for $200K in a recording budget for $1.2 million.
Well, I don't know how true that is, man, but I know for a fact was going to be the president and take over. He's going to be in charge of Death Row East, him and Big D. You understand? Craig Mack was going to be their first artist.
This seemed like a golden chance for Mack to turn his career around. However, Bad Boy Records caught wind of the offer and laid down some conditions for him to leave. They wanted Mack to withdraw his bankruptcy filing and agreed to take a cut from whatever he would earn from his deal with Death Row. It looked like Craig was on the verge of breaking free from Bad Boy, ready to embrace this new chapter with Death Row and get his career back on track. But then tragedy struck in 1996 when Tupac was gunned down.
He was supposed to be performing that night at, I think it's 662?
Yeah, Club 662 in Vegas.
Yeah, Club 662 in Vegas. The night Pac got Craig Mack was supposed to be performing that.
That loss sent shockwaves through the music industry, and Mack found himself in a precarious position. His ex-wife, Roxanne Alexis Hill Johnson, recounted how scared he was during that time. She explained, Puff was pissed that Mack was leaving Bad Boy and especially upset about him going with Suge. From what I understand, Puff was enraged. He became a vindictive bastard and really stuck it to him for doing that. This sudden shift in the atmosphere not only impacted Craig's plans, but also added a layer of fear and uncertainty to an already tense situation. The fallout from Tupac's death made the landscape of the hip-hop world feel incredibly unstable, leaving artists like Mack to rethink their decisions. Would joining Death Row still be the right move, or would it put him at further risk in a volatile environment? This dilemma was a tough pill to swallow, especially with the intense rivalry between Puff Daddy and Suge Knight looming over everything. The weight of these circumstances made it increasingly difficult for Craig to navigate his career choices while dealing with the repercussions of the industry's ever-changing dynamics. This turn of events pushed him further down a different path, one that led him to embrace his religious path. Craig eventually joined the ranks of other artists who underwent profound personal transformations. There's Moses Michael Levy, better known back then as Shine, who's now an Orthodox Jewish man. Then there's Amir Junaid Hawkins, formerly Loon, who took on a new spiritual journey but ended up incarcerated on drug charges. Even Mace, or rather Mason Betha, once a big figure in the evangelical prosperity gospel scene, had a wild turn as he dropped his pastor title and went back to his old alter ego, Murda Mace. Unfortunately, Craig's story came to a tragic end in 2008 when he passed away without ever receiving compensation for the music rights he rightfully deserved from Diddy. Diddy's notorious handling of artist rights has long been criticized, but now, after years of mounting pressure and backlash, there's word that he has finally decided to return the music rights to the artists. Diddy, who made his mark in the 1990s as the founder of Bad Boy Records, is said to be committed to giving back the publishing rights to all the artists and writers who helped build the label. But one can't help but wonder, hasn't this move come too late? What damage might have already been done in the years these artists were without control of their own work? The sad reality is that Craig wasn't the only one who got caught up in Diddy's questionable practices. Other Bad Boy artists, including Faith Evans, Mace, The Lox, 112, and the estate of the Notorious Big, also experienced similar issues. Luckily, many of them have managed to reach agreements to regain their publishing rights. Even though Diddy reportedly received lucrative multi-million-dollar offers to sell Bad Boy's publishing catalog, he ultimately decided to return the rights to the original artists and songwriters. This decision is said to be motivated by his desire to promote financial empowerment for artists, particularly within the Black community. Still, it raises questions about whether this move is a genuine effort to right past wrongs or simply a reaction to the growing criticism over his handling of these artists. Craig Mack's financial struggles really came to light during an interview he did with Primetime Music, which ended up being shared by Vlad TV. In this chat, Mack opened up about a situation where someone, who he didn't name, had convinced him to work on a new album. He agreed to take on the project, but at a lower rate than usual. Things started off okay, and he even began recording some tracks. But just when he thought everything was on track, this individual dropped a bombshell. They could only pay him a third of what they had initially agreed upon. This news hit Craig hard and added a significant financial strain to his already tight situation. Despite this setback, Craig's love for music shone through. He was determined to complete the project, so he worked out a new deal with the unnamed person. They agreed that he would get 1/3 of the payment up front, with the understanding that they would continue to make payments as they went along.
I said, you know what, man, I want to do these songs. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to do this and that and the third, let's do it. You give me the money as we go.
The last third was supposed to come once the album was finished. This arrangement was meant to help Mack pursue his artistic vision while navigating the financial tightrope he was walking. However, even with this revised agreement, he still had trouble getting paid as promised.
You know what I'm saying? I'll take a third again. I'll take a third again when we finish the actual recording of the album. Nothing happened. No money.
As time went on, Craig's frustration grew, and eventually, he made the tough decision to stop the recording altogether. This choice sparked a phone call from the unnamed individual, and their conversation quickly heated up. Mack remembered the call, starting with the individual insisting that he owed them an album. Craig fired back, "Excuse my French, but I don't owe you. You owe me money. So if you can come up with the rest of this dough, we can wrap up the album. No dough, no records, that's it." Feeling the tension rising, Craig took matters into his own hands. He set up a face-to-face meeting with this individual at an undisclosed studio, planning to confront them directly at 7 p.m. to protect himself. He brought along a friend who was armed. As they arrived at the studio, Mack immediately sensed that things were about to get intense. Despite him laying out his terms once again, the individual seemed unwilling to negotiate. The atmosphere was thick with hostility, leaving Mack concerned about what might happen next, especially in their social and professional circles.
So I caught a couple of threats, a couple of, passers-by in the street and everything else. I caught a couple of threats. And I was sitting there.
During this tumultuous time, Mack began receiving death threats, which only added to the pressure and anxiety he was feeling. These threats likely played a significant role in his decision to leave Bad Boy Records and embark on a different, more spiritual path that he kept to himself. After this unsettling period, he stepped back from the spotlight and shied away from television appearances. However, he eventually re-emerged in a video released by the Overcomer Ministry, a controversial Christian group based in South Carolina, often labeled a cult by former members. This reappearance piqued interest in Mack's life and his ties to this contentious organization. At one point, Craig Mack seemed on the verge of becoming a major player in the rap scene. His debut was met with acclaim, earning him awards and impressive record sales. But sadly, those moments of success were fleeting. Just as quickly as he burst onto the scene, he exited the music industry, leaving behind a trail of chaotic experiences. While everyone seems to be thanking Diddy for his negative impact on Craig's career. In fact, it looks like people are now more involved and interested in the whole case, especially with the fact that Diddy's has some wild cases tied around his neck. Well, there you have it. What's your thought about this?